ورحمة الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. شر الأمور محدثاتها كل محدثة بدعة كل بدعة ضلالة كل ضلالة في النار. Tonight inshallah we continue with Bab al-Hibah, with the chapter of Hibah or gift. And last time we spoke about how it's not permissible to buy back your gift. It's not permissible to give someone a gift and then if he decides to sell it, it's not permissible for you to buy it. The person who gave it to him, the giver, is not allowed to buy the gift he had given someone if that one decides to sell it. And we said the reason for that is al-muhaba al-si'ri. The reason for that is the person who's selling it, he might be selling it because he needs the money, or he might be selling it for any reason. But if it happens that you are the one who had given it to him in the first place, he might be embarrassed when it comes to the price, and he might be embarrassed even to collect any money from you. So he might be embarrassed to give it to you, he might be shy, so he'll decide to give it to you without any compensation, even though the reason that he decided to sell it is because he needs the money. And even if he doesn't need the money, he just doesn't need the gift that you've given him. Maybe he has similar thing that he doesn't need this one and it will be useless to keep it, so he's selling it. And if you decide to buy it, it's not permissible, because once you give it to him, it becomes his own, it becomes his belonging, it belongs to him, and he can do whatever he wants with it. So if you decide to buy it, then he might be embarrassed to take any money from you, or he might give you a big break on the price, and that will be harmful to him. And Islam came to prevent any harm when it comes to the issue of money between people. قال المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى: والمشروع في عطية الأولاد أن يسوي بينهم على قدر ميراثهم. He says rahimahullah, Ibn Qudama, now he's talking about, in the same chapter, he's talking about giving gifts to the kids, to your own kids, not your daughters and your sons. So there is restrictions when it comes to that, and every parent needs to know that. So he's saying, and what's permissible in giving the kids, أن يسوي بينهم على قدر ميراثهم, to give them equally based on their share from the inheritance. Give them in accordance to the inheritance. And we'll explain what that means. But what he's saying, what's permissible when you decide to give your kids, is to give them in accordance to what they would inherit. And we know in the inheritance, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ, for the male is double of what, or for the male is the share of two females. So if you give your kids, your daughters and your sons, you leave behind, and you leave some money, and it's time you die and it's time to split or to share, to distribute what you left behind to your heirs, the boy will get double of the girl. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's law in the Quran. لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. So the opinion of Ibn Qudama rahimahullah, and the opinion of a lot of the people of knowledge, that even if you want to give during your life, and you want to give gifts to the kids, then you give the boys double of the girls. That is the opinion. And the opinion of the majority of أهل العلم, الجمهور يعني, their opinion is that this boy gets double of the girl has to do with inheritance. But when it comes to giving as a gift, then the boy gets similar to the girl. The male gets similar to the female. So we have those two opinions, and really the opinion of the other opinion that says the male gets double of the female, even in the atiyya or in the hiba, that is يعني a legitimate argument. They're saying if Allah gives her half of what He would give to the son, the daughter gets half, then why in inheritance? Then why should we give her double or give her exactly what the boy would get or the male would get if it's a gift يعني in العطية? And to each يعني their opinions. جاء في الصحيحين يعني the first thing, we have to be fair when we give. When it comes to giving, parents give their kids, then we have to be fair. And then we will talk about what it means to be fair. One-to-one does not necessarily means fair. We will explain that. ففي الصحيحين عن النعمان بن بشير, in صحيح بخاري, in صحيح مسلم, that النعمان بن بشير, the Sahabi, said أعطاني أبي عطية فقالت أمه عمرية بنت رواحة لا أرضى بذلك حتى تشهد رسول الله. Nu'man ibn Bashir says, my father gave me money or a gift. So the mother said that I will not approve. He said my father gave me, so his mother said I will not approve what you're giving him until you go to the Messenger ﷺ and you let him testify. You let him testify. She wants to know if it's fair or not. فأتى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأخبره ليشهده فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام أكل ولدك أعطيته هكذا or أكل ولدك أعطيته هكذا. So when he came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he told him, I gave my son Nu'man such and such. I want you to يعني be a witness. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, did you give all your kids the same? يعني what you gave in Nu'man, did you give the rest of your kids the same? قال لا. The father said no. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا. In one riwayah the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said then no, يعني I will not testify. In one narration, another narration, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said اتقوا الله واعدلوا بين أولادكم. Fear Allah and be fair amongst your kids. And be fair amongst your kids. And in another narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, فَلَا تُشْهِدْنِي إِذَنْ أَشْهِدْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ غَيْرِي فَإِنِّي لَا أَشْهَدُ عَلَى جُورٍ أو عَلى جَوْرٍ. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, I will not testify, go ask someone else to testify. يعني I reject this testimony because I do not testify on injustice. جور يعني injustice. So the Prophet ﷺ considered this injustice because he's giving to one of his kids and he's not given the rest. And then we will distinguish between giving and giving, because not every given you have to be يعني give everyone the same. We will mention that in a little bit inshallah. طيب, what it means to be just when you give your kids? As I said, the opinion of the majority of Ahl al-Ilm, boys and girls, males and females get the same. Your daughters and your sons, or your sons and your daughters will get the same equally, because about 1 to 2, that has to do with the inheritance, as they said. And the other opinion, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or as we said, the Prophet said, اتقوا الله وَاعْدِلُوا فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ. Fear Allah and be just to your kids, or be just between your kids. That's the other opinion, they said. And the best justice is the justice of Allah. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the male double of the female in inheritance, then we know that means this is the best justice when it comes to distributing wealth. When it comes to distributing wealth between the kids, the best justice is what Allah had distributed. And what Allah had decreed, and that is 2 to 1. The male gets the double of the female. قال شريح لرجل قسم ماله بين ولده قال اردده إلى سهام الله وفرائضه. Shuraih, one of the ulama, when a man distribute his money between his kids, the Prophet, that Shuraih told him, rahimahullah, told him, if you want the just division or the just distribution, then use the law of Allah when it comes to inheritance. And that is 2 to 1. Double, the male gets double of the female. وقال عطاء ما كانوا يقسمون إلا على كتاب الله. Ata rahimahullah, also one of the tabi'een, he said they only used to distribute based on the book of Allah. So when they give a hiba or give a gift, they will use the same share as if it was inheritance. And these are the two opinions according to the ulama. When we are talking now about the giving or the gift, you are talking about what the ulama call atiyyatul mahdha. يعني gift for the sake of gift. يعني my kids don't need anything, so I feel like giving them something. I'm wealthy, they're not, or they're still kids or whatever, so I want to just give them something. So that is where we say the fairness needs to be established. So I bring my 3 boys and my 2 girls, for example, and I said, here is, if we're going to go with the opinion of the majority, here is $100, here's $100, here's $100, here's $100, here's $100. Just for that, just because I want to give. يعني I want more love. Or if we go with the other opinion, you give the kids 100, 100, 100, and you give the girls 50, 50. However, there's another atiyya, and that is when there is a necessity, when there is a need. Then when there is a need, there is no sense of establishing fairness in the sense that each one has to be given. Because when we talk about giving for necessity, we're talking about someone needs it, the others don't. So for example, if I have few kids and they're all of them are under, let's say, under 10 years old, except one who's ready to get married. Okay, 18, 19, I want to get him married. Then I give him money to get married if he can't afford it himself. I don't have to give everyone else. They're not even ready to be married. They don't need that money. Or one of my kids needs a car. For example, he goes to school. He needs a car to commute. So I buy him a car. That doesn't mean I have to buy everyone a car. Or my kid is sick, needs treatment. I'm going to pay for that. I don't have to take the same amount of money and deposit it in each one's pocket. So when we talk about al-atiyya, that you need to establish fairness and equality, we are talking about al-atiyya al-mahdha, that is giving for the sake of giving. But when there is a reason to give, there is a necessity or there is a reason, then equality is not to be, doesn't have to be established. Doesn't have to be. Someone, for example, will say, since I spend, he will tell his kid, who got married and he paid for his wedding or for his marriage, he tells him, I spent on you, let's say $10,000. So here is and $10,000 for Ahmed, and $10,000 for Muhammad, and $10,000 for Aisha, and $10,000 for Rahma, for the future when they're getting married. Well, we will talk about that, if it's permissible or not, and where the restrictions come, and where, if there is a problem, that come into the picture. Now here, so far, I've been talking about the father. Is this also applicable to the mother? If the father needs to be fair, when Bashir came to the Prophet ﷺ to make him testify, that is the father. Now, does the mother also have to give equal or in fairness when she gives to her kids? Does what applies to the father applies to the mother, even though the hadith indicate the father? Allahu A'lam, yes. What applies to the father applies to the mother. So if the father, if he gives, he's rich or he has money, he wants to give his kids, if we say he gives them fairly, then the mother, if she wants to give her kids, she has to give fairly. And if you really think about the hikmah and the reason behind that and the rationale, is to avoid any hard feelings amongst the brothers and the sisters and the siblings. Yani imagine if you are a kid in a family and you know that your father gives your brother all the time. Not because they need, he just gives them gifts. Wherever he gets money, he gives them some. But he doesn't give you. Or your mother gives your sisters and doesn't give you. That will create hard feelings between you and your siblings. And Islam comes to remove that and to avoid all that and to prevent it. So that is one of the reasons after the reason of justice, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves justice. So what applies to the father applies to the mother. Now, another issue, is it permissible for the father to take money from his son? That's very important. Now when we talked, if you remember, when we talked about the zakah, we said the son is not allowed to give his father zakah. Why? Because the son is responsible about his father. Now here we're talking about a son, not like 2 years old. We're talking about a son who's mature, who's independent, and the father is poor. And the son is making money and he has income and he has money staying with him a year, reaching the hawl, reaching the nisab, and needs to pay zakah on that money. Such money cannot go to the father, because the father expenses or responsibility falls on the shoulder of the son. That's in Islam. That you don't find anywhere else. In this country, today I read a report that Americans are kicking out their kids out fearing poverty, because of poverty. They kick their kids out of the home. He reaches 18. Have a good day, have a nice life. You're on your own. Because they're afraid of poverty. They're afraid that they can't support them or afford them anymore. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ خَشْيَةَ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُهُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ. Do not kill your kids fearing poverty. We provide for them and you as well. Because in the Jahiliyyah, in the time before Islam, they used to kill their kids. The kuffar used to kill their kids or bury them alive. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. They used to bury them alive and kill them. Why? Because they're afraid they're going to be a burden. Especially girls. Especially girls. Okay? So the point is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, you are not the provider, and you are not the razzaq, and you're not the one who feeds your kids. We provide for them and for you. You're just a means. We put you in their way so you can provide for them. You work for them. So you're not the razzaq to them. Okay? It's by the permission of Allah. وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. Allah says when it comes to rizq and provision and sustenance, it's in the heavens. But we know everything is on the earth. We know job on the earth and work on the earth and checks on the earth and money on the earth and fruits on the earth and food on the earth. So why Allah says sustenance in the heavens? Because it's everything that I just mentioned and everything else on this earth just means. Can work, might not work, only by the permission of Allah. You can work so hard thinking that working is what provides for you, and at the end of the week you don't get paid. You can buy food thinking the food is what's going to fill my kids, and you will not be able to reach home. Only means. These things are means. So the problem with a lot of Muslims is they put their trust in the means. We have to put our trust in the one who controls all these means. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very important. That's why you find a lot of Muslims will fall in selling and buying haram, and in business that is haram, because they trust the means. They think it's only this business gonna make me money. You tell him, but it's haram. He tells you, which business? Yani you come to a grocery guy, a brother who works in grocery, selling alcohol and liquor, and you tell him, get rid of it. It's haram. He tells you, what kind of business will bring me 25 grand a week? Well, the one who brought you the 25 grand, who permitted you to get 25 grand through this business, will allow you to get it through another business. But his trust is in the business. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not even into his calculations. Yani. So very important, yani, we put our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here, since we're talking about the zakat, the son is responsible about his father. So he cannot give him zakat except in one situation. Who remembers? Usually you ask, who can I give zakah and who I can't? The rule of thumb, يعني easy way, if you die, whoever inherits you cannot give zakah from you. Okay, cannot get zakah from you. Who inherits you, if you would die today, whoever can inherit some money from you, that means you're responsible about them very much. Whether go up or go down. What that means? يعني whether your father, your grandfather, and go down your kids and their kids. Does that mean I can give money to my zakat to my brother? Yes. Because if I have kids, then my brother is blocked. If I have kids, my brother does not inherit. But if I don't have kids, then my brother will inherit him. Can I give zakat to my wife? Does the wife inherit? Yes. So I can't, because I'm responsible. Can my wife give zakat to me? But she inherits me. Yeah. Huh? Because you're not her responsibility. The husband is poor, then the wife is allowed to receive zakat from his money, from his wife who's rich. Huh? Not from his wife who takes his money and hides it, and then she wants to pay zakah on it. A wife who's rich, and he married her, she was rich, he married her and then her father died and he was rich, she inherited a lot of money, she has her own business, she has her own investment, she has her own money, then she needs to pay zakat. If the husband is poor, then he is allowed to receive it. But in general, the exception that you can give someone that you're responsible about some of your zakat, the only exception is if they are in debt. يعني they owe money. You know, one of the 8 categories of people who deserve to receive zakat are people in debt, والغارمين. So if your father, who's poor, not allowed to receive zakah from you, but he's in debt, then you are, in this scenario, you're allowed to give him. And the reason for that is because paying off his debt is not your responsibility. Got it? يعني you want to give him money because he's poor to buy food and clothes. We say no. Give him zakah يعني. We say no, because clothing him and feeding him, your responsibility. But you give him money for the purpose of him paying off his debt, that is permissible, because paying off his debt is not your responsibility. Got it? That is the exception. Now going back to the topic, can or is the father allowed to take from the money of his son? Forget it now, zakah is something else. Just in general. Okay, Allah has blessed me, I have a job, I make some money. My father comes, hey son, where you hide your money? Okay? My money is in the closet. He goes to the closet, he opens the closet, he takes whatever he wants and he leaves. Is that permissible? Are the people who said permissible fathers already? Right. Two conditions. It's permissible if two conditions are met. And some of the ulama add a third condition. The first condition, taking that money. Now we're saying money, using the word money does not only means dollars. Money, anything a person owns. Taking that money, the first condition, taking that money does not inflict harm on the son. That's the first condition. For example, the son has one car, and that's how he gets to work, and that's how he gets his errands, and that's how he gets his things done. So the father comes and said, I'm taking the car. We said it's not allowed. So as long as there is no infliction of harm on the son, then it's okay, the first condition. The second condition is the father takes this money for himself to spend it in his way, in whatever he wishes, as long as in permissible way. Not to take the money from one son and give it to another. You know what that creates, right? So if the father is going to come and take $1,000 or $1,000 or $100 to give it to another son who's poor, or another son who's lazy, or who doesn't work, or because he loves that son more, then it's not permissible. So these are the two conditions. One, taking the money by the father from the son does not inflict harm on the son. And second, the father does not take the money from one son to give it to another. Some of the ulama, those are the two conditions. Some of the ulama added a third condition, which is really not very valid condition, and it's not required, and that is the father takes the money out of necessity. That has no basis. The father has to need the money. That has no basis. If the father wants to take, he takes whatever he wants, whether he needs it or he doesn't. He wants to take it to put in his pocket, that is also permissible. So based on the third condition is not very strong supported conditions. أخرج الطبراني رحمه الله وغيره أن رجلا أتى يشتكي للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يشكو أباه إلى النبي ويقول إن أبي أخذ مالي. A man came to complain to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم about his father, and he said, "O Messenger of Allah, my father took my money." So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم called over the father, فقال ما لك تأخذ مال ابنك. What's the deal with you? Why you're taking your son's money? قال يا رسول الله هل أنفقه إلا على عماته أو قال أخواته أو على نفسي. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, I only take it to spend it on his sisters or his aunts or myself." Okay? فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت ومالك ملك أبيك. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said to the son, you and your wealth belongs to your father. You and your wealth belong to your father. To your father. That in this country, do you think those people who don't have kids, those people, homeless people, old guy, he's 70 and 80 years old, doesn't have kids? Of course he has kids. Have you gone into those nursing homes to see these thousands of old people, men and women? Don't you think they have kids? Of course they have kids. But they don't care. There is no system. There is no religion. There is no consciousness to control them and for them to abide by. But here the proud, and some kids say, my father is a burden. I can't take care of him. My wife can't take it. Well, your wife or your father? Your wife or your mother? So this is a warning to the Muslims who decide to throw their parents homeless or nursing homes and not even ask about them, not even caring for them, because he doesn't want to upset his wife or she doesn't want to upset her husband. Be aware of that. We need to be aware of that. That is a crime against those people. They never complained when she carried you 9 months. They never complained when they had to stay all night long because you're sick and running you right and left and south and north trying to find you a cure. And now you can't take care of them when they need you. So we need to be aware of that. And Islam came to establish this, the rights of the parents. More than anything, it's enough that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned their obedience right after the obedience of Allah. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And your Lord has decreed that you only worship Him, and right after that, and be kind to your parents. Right after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to be aware of that. So the Prophet ﷺ tells the man, أَنْتَ وَمَالُكَ مِلْكُ أَبِيكَ. You and your wealth belong to your father. Does that mean your mother too? And your mother too. And your mother too.
But just now, you say just now that if the father takes the money, he could only spend it on himself and not on his other, the other siblings or his family.
That's not what I said. The second condition was to take money to give to someone else. To take it from one son to give it to another son. Not to spend on the other son. Not to fulfill his responsibility toward the other son. Just to give the money. Alright? Just to give the money. So that is very important. يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and remember, since we're talking about a gift, kids are gifts to their parents from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَى, but Zakaria alayhi salam, and we have granted to him Yahya, John. ويقول الله سبحانه وتعالى about Ibrahim, وَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوب, and we have gifted him or granted him Ishaq and Jacob or Yaqub. So even the kids are sons, and the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ أَطْيَبَ مَا أَكَلْتُم مِّن كَسْبِكُمْ وَإِنَّ أَوْلَادَكُم مِّن كَسْبِكُمْ. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best you can eat and the most blissful food you can eat is what you earned, your own work. You worked for it. You did not beg for it. You did not ask for it. You worked for it. You worked hard to get it, to earn it. That is the best you can eat. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, and your kids are from your earning. Your kids, part of your earning. So they belong to you. And what belongs to them belong to the parents. Okay. Now an issue is, if I have to establish justice and fairness in giving my kids, do I have to establish fairness in giving my brothers or my sisters? Okay? That is an issue that is very important to pay attention. يعني, you have 2 brothers or 3 brothers and 2 sisters or 3 sisters, or in my case, you have 3 sisters and 6 brothers. If I want to give each one, if I want to give my youngest brother $200, does that mean I have to give everyone else $200? The rest of my brothers, or the rest of my brothers and sisters? Or when it comes to the brothers and sisters, يعني siblings, you as a brother, not as a father, you as a brother, you don't have to. If you want to give one and not give the other, that is your option. Okay? That is your right. ويقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, من كانت له زوجتان فمال إلى إحداهما جاء يوم القيامة وشقه مائل. So now we established fairness in giving when it comes to the siblings, to your kids, to your sons and your daughters. We don't have to be equal when we give the brothers and the sisters. What's about the wives? If you have more than one wife, then you have to be just. With the wives, you have to be fair. But again, being fair does not mean exactly everything. And if I buy this one a red dress, I have to buy the other one a red dress. Maybe the other one doesn't even like red dress. Alright? So each one based on her need, and each one based on her desire. So that is how it works. So a woman is not expected you buy this one a pound of apples, you have to buy the other one a pound of apples. Okay? So that is not. But you treat them justly and fairly to the best of your ability. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever has 2 wives and he's more inclined to one over other, يعني in what he can control. Because there are things you can't control. For example, love, you can't control. Most probably you're going to love one more than another. Someone's behavior is going to make you dislike her more than the other. These are natural things, instincts you cannot control. And that's what Allah means when He says in Surah An-Nisa, وَلَن تَعْدِلُوا بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ. And you will not be able to establish justice amongst women even if you're concerned, even if you try, even if you're careful. So the ulama carried that is on what you can't control. And such that, like love. When the Prophet ﷺ was asked, who's the most beloved to you? He said, Aisha. So he loved Aisha more than the rest of his wives. That is natural feeling, okay? So very important that we understand. So the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever has 2 wives and he's more inclined toward the one over the other, in things that perhaps he can control, then he will come on the day of judgment with one of his sides crooked. One of his sides ma'il, offline. One of his sides ma'il, he's not walking straight. Okay. Now the other issue, which I already mentioned, is I gave, now we talk about giving because of a necessity. So I gave my son to get married. I spent on him $10,000. The other kids are not ready to get married. So I say, the other kids, I'm going to put $10,000 for each one, so when they're ready to get married, they use this money for me to be fair. If they're ready to get married while I'm still alive, then no problem. But if this money on the side for each one to get married because I want to be fair, and then I die before they get married, are they still entitled for this money or not?
Become inheritance.
Yes. No, they're not. This money goes back to the pool of my wealth to be distributed. Because la wasiyyata liwarith. Because my kids after my death will be some of the heirs. They will inherit me. And we know the fundamental in inheritance when it comes to relatives or comes to people who can inherit you, you cannot have them part of your will. In the sense you cannot say so and so can get this much money if they inherit you. Got it? So my kids will inherit me. So there is no wasiyah, and you cannot leave behind some money for someone who gonna inherit you. He gonna get his money from the inheritance. But you cannot say, give $10,000 to my son Ahmed. We say this wasiyah or this order is not to be fulfilled because Ahmed gonna inherit you automatically. So you cannot give him over that. So if it's still in my life, I can pay for their wedding, to be fair. And if I didn't, I'm not being unfair. And maybe when one of them gonna get ready to be married, years later, maybe his wedding will cost more. So I will have to pay more. That doesn't mean I was unfair to the other one. But if I have dedicated certain amount of money for each one when he gets married and then I die, then this money is not to be given to them. This money goes back to the inheritance, and then it's distributed to the heirs. Now, if a father, another scenario, a father gives one of his kids, he doesn't give the others. Not out of necessity, he just gives him. Okay, he just gives him some money. This is haram, right? This is jawr. This is injustice, as the Prophet ﷺ said. So when something is injustice, we try to take it back. So the father gives one of his kids. He prefers one of his kids over the others. He gives him a piece of land. He doesn't give the other kids. Then the father dies. Is it allowed to take back that piece of land, to put it in the pool of inheritance and distribute it, or it's not? One of the opinion is not. That's it. He gave it to him. He died. You cannot take it back. And the other opinion, which is a very strong opinion, that is, since it was injustice and taken or given unjustly, then it should be taken back and then distributed on the heirs. Okay? And that is, Allahu A'lam, the right opinion. That if I'm a father and 2 years before I died, I like one of my kids over the others, I gave him $100,000, I told him, don't tell anyone. Give him a piece of land, don't tell your brothers. Then my father dies, or I die, and then my kids come and say, okay, how much our father left behind? And that most probably going to happen like 2 hours after they bury you, right? Because that's the reality. So they add up 1, 1, 2, 3. What's about the land in Boca? Oh, the son who got it said, no. Here's the paper. My father wrote in my name 2 years ago. So Islamically, we can force this kid or this son to give it back, and then it gets distributed amongst the people who inherit. Okay, that is the second opinion. Why? Because when the Prophet ﷺ said, "Jawr, I do not testify on injustice." So the fact that the Prophet ﷺ calls it injustice, that means it's invalid. Okay, should be invalid. وهذا القول قول عروة بن الزبير وإسحاق بن راهويه and رواية عن الإمام أحمد وقول شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية. These are Urwa ibn Zubayr and Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, Imam Ahmad, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. That's their opinion, that you should take it or you can take it back. طيب, if one of the kids, another scenario, if one of the kids work with me, the others don't, they have their own jobs, they have their own lives, can I give him what I don't give his brothers? One of the kids work with me. The ulama said, you give him what you will give a strange person. Yani, for example, I have a store and my son, one of my kids, works with me, and he comes 9 to 5. Can I pay him for that? Yes, you pay him what you would pay any other person. You don't give him more because he's your son. That more, you need to give the rest. So if his work usually gets paid $10 an hour, then you pay him $10 an hour. What you would pay a strange person. And you cannot give him preference over the others. Got it? Clear? طيب. قال المؤلف: إذا قال لرجل أعمرتك داري هذه أو هي لك عمرا فهي له ولورثته من بعده. This issue is called مسألة يعني العمرة والرقبة. What they used to say before is he'll come to someone. Now we're out of the kids and family and all that. Now we're back to the gift. Someone comes and he tells his friend or his relative or whoever, this is my house, أعمرتك هي لك عمرة. What that means, يعني I give you this house to live in. Okay? I give you my house, or I have this apartment, I give it to you for you to live, and it's, if I do that, if I use this term, هي لك عمرة, then it becomes right away, automatically, it's his. And I give you this to live in and for you, Umrah. Then it becomes his belonging for him and for his inheritors. That is al-Umrah. Okay. قال المؤلف أعمرتك داري هذه أو هي لك عمرك كله. This is أعمرتك, يعني the term itself, يعني it comes from عمر. عمر is your life, يعني your lifespan. So if I say أعمرتك or هي لك عمرة, يعني this is for you as long as you're alive, your whole life. This is for you, your whole life. That automatically makes it his. And if he dies, his inheritors or his heirs will inherit it because it belongs to him. Okay? That is the term that is used.
If I say I give you for 6 months.
والرقبة هي أن يقول أرقبتك هذه الدار أو هي لك على أنك إن مت قبلي عادت إلي وإن مت قبلك فهي لك. This another promise is similar. الرقبة يعني I give you this apartment to live in, and then you put the conditions. I give you this apartment to live in for 2 years. Then we know it's for 2 years. Okay? But you cannot use the term أعمرتك. That is for life. But this term is different. And like if we're going to say, if you tell someone, this is apartment for you for life, then it's automatically understood it belongs to him now. But if you tell someone, this house for you for 2 years, or this house for you to live in until you die, then it comes back to me. Or this house for you to live in, and if you die before me, I get it back. If I die before you, it's yours. So in this scenario and in this way, there are conditions you can put. Okay? It's based on the condition, then it becomes clear if it belongs to him or it does not belong to him. العمرة تنقل الملكية إلى العمر. العمرة, the first scenario, is right away gives him the ownership. The الرقبة is something else based on the condition. So another way, in other forms, the umrah or the first scenario is you are giving it away. The second scenario, you are renting it without يعني return, if we can use the term. Sukna, يعني to live in it. And that is what, if you use the term askantuka, that is considered rukba. So in this scenario, if it's sukna, يعني manfa'a, يعني he's only getting from this apartment the benefit of living in it only, not the apartment itself. So based on that, I can get him out whenever I want. Here's my apartment, live in it. No one understands from this that it's yours. But if I tell you, this is my apartment, take it. Okay? But if I come and tell you, this apartment, I know you don't have an apartment, you just moved in, live in it. Live in it, that means you're only entitled for the benefit of living in it, not for the benefit of the real estate. So this way I can come and ask you to leave any minute. Any minute. Alright. And also, يعني, as I said, you live in it as long as you're alive. Is that first scenario or second scenario? Second scenario. يعني, once you die, it comes back to me. But if I tell you this is Umrah lak or this is for you forever, forever, then it belongs to him and people who inherit him after that. Someone might ask, if I promise someone a gift, do I have to fulfill it? In general, promising. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in many hadith that one of the characters of the hypocrites, when they promise, they don't fulfill. So if I promise someone, if I don't fulfill that promise, am I considered a hypocrite? The ulama made it clear that breaking the promise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemns and the Prophet ﷺ condemns and say the hypocrites are those, it's the promise that you make with the intention of breaking it. So I promise you, and I know in my heart that I'm gonna break it because I wanna أتحايل عليك, I wanna fool you. Give me $100, I promise I'm gonna pay you back. But in my heart, I plan not to pay you. That is the promise that Allah condemns in the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ condemns in the Sunnah. But if I promise you I'm gonna pay you, and in my heart, my intention to pay you in a month. A month comes, I don't have the money. There is no way I can bring the money to pay you. Then that you do not fall in this category. Because when it's over your control, then you're excused. Got it? So when you promise someone a gift with the intention of getting him a gift, and then things happen, you did not get it for him. You forgot. The gift supposed to be you're supposed to get it from somewhere else, different country. You went to that country and you forgot to buy it. You ran out of money, you could not buy it. You never traveled. Then that is overlooked, inshallah, and that is not considered breaking the promise. But if I tell you I'm going to Paris, and I'm gonna get you the Eiffel Tower model, okay, and in my heart, I'm just telling this, wash him away. That is nifaq. This is hypocrisy. Okay, so that is what we say. What if my father gives my brother $1,000, just like that, just for the sake of giving? Is he supposed to give me 1,000 too? Of course, out of justice, or it will be unjust or unjust, right? That's what we established. He's just giving my brother doesn't need money, but he's giving him $1,000. Should he give me $1,000 too? Yes, but he doesn't. He doesn't. Am I entitled? I know where my father puts his money. I know my father's shop. I have access to my father's bank account. I have access to my father's safe. Am I entitled to go and get that $1,000? هاي المسألة يسميها أهل العلم مسألة الظفر. Alright, what that means, they call this scenario الظفر. If I have the opportunity to do it with one condition, then I can do it, but with one condition. لا
يعرف
لا شو لا if he knows, then what's the point? He's refusing to give you, but he gave your brother. He's refusing.
There is only two brothers?
Yeah. What that has to do with it. But الظفر yes, I can with one condition. لا. No, it's not if I need it. Huh? لا. Give something to your brother? لا. If it's so clear, that taking that $1,000, if I'm confronted, I can defend myself. For example, شرعيا now we're talking about Islamic law. We're not talking about in America. We're talking about a government based on Sharia. A government based on Sharia, your father gives your brother $1,000, you go to, and he doesn't give you, you go to the judge, and the judge will force your father to give you $1,000 or take the $1,000 he gave to your brother back. Now, I went and I took $1,000. My father gave unjustly to my brother $1,000. Based on the dhahr, I go, he doesn't want to give me. I asked him, they told him, it's not fair, he refused. I go and I take $1,000 from the bank account. Right, left, who did that? $1,000 less? Fadi did it. Okay, we're going to report him. That's stealing. Stealing, taking $1,000 is not your money. So he reports you to the judge. The judge calls you back, calls you over. You took that, did you steal $1,000? Because stealing means cutting hands, huh? It's not a joke. Like today they released the killer of Malcolm X. So the killer of Malcolm X is a free man. These people you kill and then you're free after a while. So, and he's been for a while, 5 days at home and 2 days in prison. That's what, this is fun. Anyway, so I come to the judge, stand in front of him. You took $1,000, did you steal it? If you can prove, and it's very clear, that listen judge, that's Sharia, he gave my brother $1,000 and did not give me, and that's not fair according to Islam and according to the Prophet ﷺ, it's injustice. So I used Masalat al-Dhafr and I got my money, because it's my right. Now this $1,000 is my right. If you can prove that, and you prove the scenario, then do it. But if your father is a bad guy, and when you go there, he will say, no. Here, this son, I gave him $1,000 because he worked for me. But he didn't, and he just wanted to destroy you. Of course, I don't think a father would do that. But the point is, if you will be in that doubt and that predicament, then you should not do it. Okay? But if it's straightforward, you can defend yourself, and you can be out of doubt, and you can be out of accusation, and you can protect yourself. If they will accuse you of stealing, then you do it, and you have the right for that. So in general, if you have the right to get what belongs to you in justice, not what belongs to you because you think it belongs to you, but it does belong to you. It's your right. If you can get it without getting yourself in trouble, then that is permissible. Or you can defend yourself if you're confronted, then that is permissible.
I said, like me hand.
Yeah, so be aware. عطية المريض. What's about the gift that a sick person gives? Now when we say gift, that can entail your whole money, your whole wealth. Okay? Giving away. So, عطية المريض, first of all, a person who's not sick has the right to do whatever he wants with his money. Of course, in a permissible way, without israf, without exaggeration, without extravagance, being extravagant. But what we're saying, without waste. But he has the right. Someone has $1 million, he's healthy, he can take that $1 million and say, this is to build Islamic center. No one has the right to tell him no. That's when he's healthy. He can give away all his wealth. And the Prophet ﷺ said, in the meaning, that this sadaqah is better than when you're sick. To give when you're healthy is better than to give when you're sick. قل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن تتصدق وأنت صحيح شحيح تخشى الفقر وتأمن الغنى. It's better to, when he was asked what is the best sadaqah, he said when you give sadaqah when you're healthy, شحيح. شحيح means بخيل, not بخيل. Between بخيل and so concerned. When you're healthy, you don't want to spend the money because you're afraid you're gonna run out of money. But when you're sick, say, I'm dying, yani who cares? All right? That's where you force yourself and the desires, because the desires will tell you, no, don't spend that much because you need money for tomorrow. So just give a little bit. So forcing yourself to give during that instance when you're healthy is better. And that's what it means sahih, yani healthy shahih. When you're holding back because you're healthy and you don't know what the future is carrying for you. That is better sadaqah than when you're sick and you're leaving. Who cares? Let me give away. You're actually giving because you want the reward. Now, when it comes to dealing with your money and spending it, if you're healthy, we already talked about it. When it comes to sickness, two types of sickness. If the sickness is a sickness, it's not serious, I know I go through it, then I will be out of it. In general, sometimes you don't get out of it, but like cold, headache, toothache, broken leg, even diabetes, high blood pressure, these things usually don't kill you. Okay? Like long run, they don't kill you. So in these situations, the max you can give away is a third. No. You have in this situation, because it's not what they call terminal, it's not definite I'm gonna die, wallahu a'lam, but in general there are diseases that, or sicknesses, doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna die. Most of the time people recover. So if it's a disease that you will recover, most of the time people recover, then you still have the right to spend your whole money the way you want. Give away the whole thing. But if you are in a terminal disease or in a disease that most people usually die from, may Allah protect all of you, AIDS, cancer, okay, these terminal diseases, cirrhosis, if that's what you have, then even if you're still functioning, you're still strong, you are not allowed to give more than 1/3. Okay? You're not allowed to give more than 1/3. Because that is considered disease of death. And we're going to die. We're all going to die. Any disease after that, you will die. Okay? قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حديث أبو هريرة إن الله تصدق عليكم عند وفاتكم بثلث أموالكم زيادة في أعمالكم. This hadith, many narrations for this hadith, they're all weak, but perhaps some of the ulama said they support each other, as Ibn Hajar said. Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the right to give in sadaqah 1/3 of your wealth when you're dying to increase your good deeds. Okay? So as I said this hadith is weak, but many narrations perhaps can support each other. But the bottom line from other adillah, that you can only when you're dying or you're in a disease that Allahu a'lam, but most probably it's gonna kill you, then it's all in the hands of Allah. But in general, then you are entitled to give away 1/3 of your wealth, and the rest is left for your heirs. قال المؤلف رحمه الله تبرعات المريض مرض الموت المخوف ومن هو في الخوف كالواقف بين الصفين عند التقاء القتال ومن قدم ليقتل وراكب البحر حال هيجانه ومن وقع الطاعون ببلده إذا اتصل بهم الموت. Here, رحمه الله ابن قدامة, he's giving you some of the scenarios that in those instances you're only allowed to give 1/3. Besides the diseases that we have mentioned, he gives the example. كالواقف بين الصفين عند التقاء, it's the time of fighting. You're in a war, and you are right facing the enemies. So there's a high probability you're gonna die. So he's saying that this person cannot give away all his wealth. He's in a time of death, so he's allowed only 1/3. And he also says وَمَنْ قُدِّمَ لِيُقْتَلْ, person very healthy, but they're taking him to execute him. This person only allowed to give 1/3. وَرَاكِبُ الْبَحْرِ حَالَ هَيْجَانِ, someone who's traveling in the ocean or even in the plane Of course, they don't mention that, they didn't have those things yet. And he knows the plane is, the pilot says, we're gonna hit water straight, we're dying, huh? Make your last prayer. Or in a train and there is, death is coming, Allahu A'lam. But there's chance you're gonna be saved, huh? And the example I mentioned, someone traveling in the ocean and it goes stormy. So there's a high chance you're gonna die. So in this instance, you cannot give away all your money. Say all of it, for the sake of Allah. You're only allowed 1/3. And another example, he said, وَمَنْ وَقَعَ الطَّاعُونَ بِبَلَدِهِ. And if there is a plague in your area, most probably there's a high chance you're gonna catch it. So you're only allowed 1/3. قال بعض العلماء ومن طلق زوجته في مرض موته المخوف منه طلاقا بائنا بقصد حرمانها من الميراث فإنها ترثه مطلقا سواء توفي في العدة أو بعدها ما لم تتزوج بزوج آخر أو ترتد. المسألة خلافية لكن هذا هو الأقرب. Someone been living with his wife for years, but he hates her. But he can't divorce her. Because according to the law where he lives, if he divorces her, she takes everything. So he forces himself to live with her. Or he forces himself to live with her, she's a bad woman, let's say. Or a good woman, he's the bad guy. But he's forcing himself to live with her for the kids. Who gonna raise them? Whatever reason. Someone just doesn't like his wife. So when he's dying, he said, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. So he divorces her. So she will not inherit. Because she's not his wife anymore. So the ulama said, if someone who's dying divorces his wife, so she will not be able to inherit. And if I'm dying, who cares if I divorce her or not? But he divorces her, and we know he's doing that because he doesn't want her to inherit and share his wealth. So the ulama said, if he divorces her and he dies, and he was dying when he divorced her, if he divorced her, so he does not allow her to inherit, and then he dies, if she's still in her period, in her iddah, the 3 months, or she's already out of it, she finished the 3 months, he divorced her and 4 months later he died, that means she's not his wife anymore. But we know he divorced her in his dying, while he's dying, so she does not inherit. Or he divorced her 2 months before his death, she's still in the iddah. Then a lot of the ulama said she inherits. If his intention of divorcing her was so she does not inherit from him, then she will inherit, whether she's in iddah or she's done, as long as she did not get married again, or she did not leave Islam. If she's apostate, then the kafir does not inherit the Muslim. Kafir does not inherit the Muslim. We'll talk about these things when we talk about the inheritance, laws of inheritance, fara'id. We will see that the kafir cannot inherit a Muslim and a Muslim cannot inherit a kafir. Okay? So if your father is not Muslim and he's very rich, then make sure he says La ilaha illallah before he dies. You want to make him Muslim. Of course, this is just a joke, but try your best to make him a Muslim, to bring him to the guidance and the beauty of Islam. But you cannot inherit him. If he gives you in his life, that's great. Alright. And the issue, different opinions, but Allah alam, the right thing is she inherits. قال المؤلف رحمه الله حكمها حكم وصيته في 6 أحكام. To give while dying is similar to al-wasiyya. We said al-wasiyya, we'll talk about al-wasiyya next time inshallah. Al-wasiyya is when you write in your will, I want so and so to take this, I want so and so to do this, okay? That's al-wasiyya. So to give a gift while you're dying and al-wasiyya is similar in 6 things. Okay? I know it's time for salah, but inshallah we'll go over these very quick. First, it's not permissible for a stranger over 1/3. So while you're dying, if you want to give a gift, you cannot give more than 1/3. And wasiyya, while you're dying, you cannot write wasiyya for more than 1/3. Right? Okay. That's the first thing. ثم ذكر المؤلف عن رجل أعتق 6 مماليك. The story is a man who was dying had 6 slave men. That's all he had. So he freed them. He said, you're all free. So when the Prophet ﷺ heard, got upset. And he took 2. He kept 2 free and he brought back 4 to slavery. Because 2 is 1/3 of his wealth. Okay? قال إن الحرية تجتمع في بعض العبيد بالقرعة إذا لم يفي الثلث بالجميع الخبر. What this is, طيب how do I know which 2 to keep free and which 4 to get back to slavery? قرعة. Draw. You make a draw. Alright? That is what he's saying. ثم قال أنه إذا أعتق عبدا غير معين أو معين فأشكل أخرج بالقرعة. Also if someone frees, that's similar between wasiyya and atiyya. So between gift or hiba and wasiyya while dying. If someone says a slave is free, so and so, and they did not figure it out, they did not understand what he said, he did not remember which one he meant, then again goes back to the draw. Okay? That is similar to these things. Also أنه يعتبر, he says يعتبر خروجها من الثلث حال الموت فلو اعتق عبدا لا مال له سواه أو تورع به ثم ملك عند الموت ضعف قيمته تبين أنه عتق كله حين اعتاقه وكان ما كسبه بعد ذلك له. وإذا صار عليه دين يستغرقه لم يعتق منه شيء ولا صح تبرعه به ولو وصى له بشيء فلم يأخذ الموصى له زمانا قوم عليه وقت الموت لا وقت الآخر. These 2 points, general rule. The rule is we measure the amount of his wealth after he died, not when he said. Okay? After his death, we come and we value. We do hasr, we count how much he left. What did he leave behind? Then we compare it to what he gifted. So if it comes to be 1/3 or less, then it goes through. Okay? If it's more than the 1/3, then we say it's not allowed. So giving the 1/3 away has to do with that 1/3 compared to the whole thing, if it's 1/3 or not, when he dies. Not before and not after. For example, someone has $90,000. The 1/3 of that is 30,000. So 2 months before he dies, he says 30,000 for my friend Ibrahim. At that moment, he's saying after his death, Ibrahim takes 30,000. Ibrahim does not inherit him. Is that allowed or not? Yes, it's 1/3. Now 2 months later he dies, so they come to see how much he has. He has, because he had to spend $10,000 to the hospital, so he has 80,000. Now the 30,000 is 1/3 or more or less? More. So it's invalid promise. So we don't give him 30,000. Got it? That's the point. So the hikmah and the point is how much he has when he dies. Not when he said, I give so and so, and not 2 months later after we pay all his loans and we pay this and that. Okay? And we pay for his funeral, that consumes, and pay his debt, and that consumes everything. إن أن كونه وارثا يعتبر حالة الموت فيهما فلو أعطى أخاه أو وصى له ولا ولد له فولد له ابن صحت العطية والوصية. Another thing is, again, it has to do with the time of death. For example, I don't have kids. So I say in my will or in my gift, give $10,000 for my brother Ismail. Is that permissible or not?
Before you did?
Yeah, before I died, of course. After I die, you're going to come and say...
Yes, you can do it.
Yes? No, I can't. Because I don't have kids, so Ismail, who's my brother, can inherit me. And we said I cannot give something to someone who inherits him. He gets it from the inheritance. So 2 months before, or a year before, my brother Ismail gets $10,000. I don't have kids. So that means when I die 12 months later, he's not allowed to get it, because it's not legitimate. But 10 months later from that moment when I wrote that to him, I get a son. Now if I have a son, my son blocks my brother from inheritance. That means my brother cannot inherit me anymore. So that makes that gift legitimate. So my brother can collect. Got it? Because he's not an inheritor anymore. So it all has to do with the time of death, not before or after. Now if you flip the scenario, I have a son, so I say $10,000 for my brother Ismail. Is that permissible? Yes. When I die, my brother Ismail gets 10,000. That's permissible, as long as it's not more than the third. A month before I die, my son dies. So now my brother can inherit me. Is he still entitled for the 10,000 or not? No, he's not. So it all boils down to the time of death. We don't look before or after. We look at the time of death. Is that what he's writing? More than the third, then it's not fit. If that's an inheritor, then it does not fit. Okay? That is the point. Also the last point, أنه لا يعتبر رد الورثة وإجازتهم إلا بعد الموت فيهم. And the last thing that is common between wasiya and the gift is if Ahmed can inherit me, that means I cannot give him anything. Wasiya, right? We understand that. True? I cannot say 10,000 for Ahmed and Ahmed can inherit me. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So now my will or my paper that I said gift in it for Ahmed $1,000, even though he can inherit me and he's not allowed Islamically, it's not allowed for me to write that for him with the lawyer. So I die. So the lawyer comes, bring the paper, and he said, we're going to distribute the money. He left $100,000, $1,000 for Ahmed. He's not allowed to take it. But if all the people who are going to inherit agree and approve, then it's okay. Now, before I died, I brought all the people who are going to inherit me, and I said, I'm going to write in my will $1,000 gift to Ahmed. You guys approve? Of course, you're in front of them, you're sick, this and that. Yes, Dad, we approve. I die, they say, now Dad is dead. No, we don't approve. But we said it out of embarrassment, we didn't want to upset him, this and that. What matters? When they told me when I was dying, or what they decided after my death? After my death. So again, everything has to do with the time of death, after death, not before or way after. Got it? Alright. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.